And welcome to another episode of Daily Market Mastery with me, Christian Rauchenwald, on this sunny Friday afternoon. I hope you all had a great and successful week. As always, before we jump into the markets and my portfolio, let's get the usual disclaimer out of the way first. Everything that I share in this live stream / video is my personal opinion and in no way financial or professional advice of any kind. You should always do your own research, consult certified professionals, draw your own conclusions, and make your own decisions. Besides that, as always, all the tools that I'm using, so the broker, the charting software, the strategy I'm following, and so on, are all linked in the video description down below. And the one thing you truly should check out if you haven't done so is the Elliott Wave principle. You can read this wonderful book for free when you use the link in the description down below, and you can use the same link to get yourself a physical copy. Now, with that said, one moment. I'm gonna press the magic button here. And we can see that we have another break even starting to the day with a slight positive touch. Portfolio is unchanged, meaning we have 600 shares of GameStop, which is our by far biggest position, against which we sold 6 covered calls with a strike price of $37. All other positions are also unchanged, but as I said, they are minor in comparison, so we don't focus on those that much. Now, if we jump into the markets, obviously starting with GameStop, considering that it is our biggest position, we can see that we yesterday had a stronger upwards move, which might indicate what we talked about yesterday, that this might actually be the end of wave 4, and that from here potentially we might currently develop wave 5. It's a little bit too early to call it for sure, but as said, it at least has that look and feel. As long as we stay above the low that we had here, roughly around 25 something, that option is definitely alive. And so we'll just have to wait and see. Once the market opens in 1.5 minutes, we can also check if there would be any point in rolling our calls further. So if we can do it for a credit, we might consider doing so. If we cannot do it for a decent credit, we just hold our current position and wait for them to expire here. Ideally, obviously worthless, so that we just pocket the premium and get to keep the shares. With that said, we can try to move on to, actually we'll go here, and I'm going to remove BNet real quick and edit again. So hopefully we get a chart this way. Maybe we don't. If not, we'll get the chart probably this way. Yeah, this way it works. So I don't know what the issue is with the time frame, but we can see, I mean, we have a little bit of a decline here, so I'm gonna make this bigger for now. It's not a solution, but it's a temporary fix for some of the charts that somehow are not loading. So we can see that while we have our first 5-wave impulse, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 3-wave corrective move, and then what appears to be a diagonal, we so far stay above the magical $10 level, or for us actually more critical would be the $8.31 level, and it stands to reason that again we will get further upwards movement. So basically this would be the next wave 1, wave 2, and we potentially see here the beginning of the third wave with another wave 1, wave 2, or this here is still part of this corrective move. Either way, we're going to hold on to our BNet position because, again, as said, from here on out, it should actually give us further upside based on the pattern that is on the chart. Immersion, then actually have to close the chart window, this one, because we don't need it anymore for now. Up. There we go. Immersion is set unchanged. We're waiting for another push to finish this potential corrective move into the area of 669 roughly. And once that happens, we should expect or should get to see the next upward movement. Until then, we just hold our position. Because we're still not clear about what the heck this entire mess here is. Honestly, my original entry, which happened somewhere here, was a little bit of FOMO and too early. Happens, but shouldn't. Thankfully, the position is not too big. We can therefore wait to see how this plays out, or wait to get more candles on the chart to then better decide if we want to stay in that position or just cut our loss and move on. I don't know. Anyway, so moving on to NEO. NEO is one thing I called wrong twice, unfortunately. So based on the pattern, I thought the correction would be done here. If people would have entered based on that advice with a trailing stop loss, they would have still made a decent profit. I also called it here. Again, turned out to be a false positive. And now I'm not calling it, but it sure has the look like we might have finally ended the correction here at the 78.6 retracement, which is one of the less usual candidates for turnaround points. Obviously, it's not over yet. We would need to get to see some upward movement. If we break, I don't know, like around, let's say 550 here, we could be more confident in our assessment. But since I got it wrong twice, I'm just going to wait and see how this plays out. In the meantime, we'll keep our shares and just lean back. With that, we can actually check the GameStop option prices. So it looks like our calls are right now technically more expensive than they were before based on yesterday's upward movement. There's also no volume for the $37 calls, which we would have to buy back if we want to roll them and then basically sell the new ones. And we can see, first of all, there's no volume. Second of all, because there's no volume on both of them actually right now, so there's no open interest. We don't get an accurate quote, but the quote we get would still be a debit, and we definitely don't roll for a debit. Yeah, so I mean, we made that once. I'm not going to do that again. So the only other option would be obviously to roll it out further. So which means instead of April 4th, it would then be April 17th, which however brings us in a time frame where we are 55 days till expiration. However, we would like to stay between 30 and 45 days of expiration. So we're not going to do that, especially not for like $60 or $50 in premium. So I'm going to keep our GameStop position the way it is. Crypto parts, I think there are not many that matter right now. XYO, we have to relabel. HNT, we actually said expect another drop into this area before we go further up. Bitcoin, we have to relabel, but as pointed out, it's possible that we have a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, wave 3, 1, 2, 3, 4, and it's possible that wave 4 actually terminates at the 21.4 retracement. It's also not one of the common candidates, but it's one of our candidates. So it's possible that this is the entire correction, and from here we're right now on our journey further up. It's also possible that this is only the beginning of the correction and we actually wait to see the at least 38.2 retracement. Until we look closer and also zoom out to label the overlaying pattern, we will not have a solid opinion on this. I personally will keep my small Bitcoin position for now and yeah, like just monitor the situation. With that, I think the chart for Frontline wasn't working. Doesn't look like it's working now either. And even if we say open chart window, we don't get a chart. Yeah, I can close this. And anything else, actually, NVIDIA, no, in NVIDIA, we don't have a forecast on the chart, although I pointed out that it looks like the correction is over and we go up from here. But Amazon, we have a forecast on the chart where we expect the $250 mark. So right now we're in a correction here in a small one. One would need to label this area specifically since we are looking on a weekly chart, which I honestly don't feel like doing today. So I'm not going to do it, especially since I don't have a horse in the race and we don't have spare capital right now to even jump into this if I would want to. So not much point for me to do that. Also, especially not if nobody in the chat is requesting me to do it. Yeah, and I think with that, we're again through with it. It's like, yeah, it's a little bit, yeah, I don't know the right word, but obviously our streams recently are a little bit shorter on some aspects because I'm lacking a little bit of energy, in other aspects because we have some technical issues with getting charts for some of the things. I'll try to, I mean, I have it already on my list. I'm not sure when I'll get to investigate the charting issue, but eventually we're going to start to obviously relabel a few things that I already pointed out for the last 2 or 3 weeks that we need to relabel. But it's also mostly, or additionally, it's because obviously our funds are tied up in our GameStop position, and until our calls either expire worthless or we roll them for credit, we don't have extra funds to invest. And without extra funds to invest, I also don't have much incentive to look for specific patterns, to be honest. Yeah. Because I'm fairly happy with how things are going right now, with the few exceptions like calls where we're in a waiting position for more candles, but with 90% of the portfolio, I'm actually happy how it is positioned, so I don't need to go looking for potential better opportunities. Yeah. Anyway, with that, we're actually going to call it a day here. So thanks for stopping by. I hope you were able to take something away from today's episode. Don't forget, as always, like, subscribe, enable notifications. And with that, I'm going to see you in one of my other episodes, or actually Monday then, with another episode of Daily Market Mastery. Till then, bye-bye.